Morning. So I'm Randy Bradley from the University of Tennessee, Assistant Professor of Information Systems and Supply Chain Management. When we ask the question, is it a sacrifice or is it an investment? In my mind, it's sort of this cyclical process, if you will, that I believe initially starts with an investment, where I'm investing my time, my energy, my efforts in what my future could potentially be. But it's also a sacrifice with respect to I have to sacrifice time with friends. I have to sacrifice time with family. I have to sacrifice certain types of relationships, but I do that with the expectation that at the end of the sacrifice, I'm able to contribute more with respect to those activities, with respect to those family members that I engage and interact with, and with respect to those friends that I couldn't spend that time that I wanted to spend with them. And so when it's all said and done, that time with me is more valuable, and my time with them is more productive. It's an investment in the lives of those young people that I touch day in and day out. It's so easy for us to get caught up in the moment and say this is really all about us. But I think in reality, if we're wiser about this, what we realize is that there are many things in our lives that happen for us, and many of those things had nothing to do with us. There are things that happen because other people set a path, other people walk before you, other people set an example that they expect and intend for us to follow. And so you're here today, and I tell you, I want you to think about this in three ways. And I tell you it's this way. One, this is your destiny, but it's up to you to fulfill it. This is your legacy, but it's up to you to build it. And this is your story, but it's up to you to tell it every step of the way. When I was in my undergraduate program in engineering, and I came out, I was probably not what you consider to be a serious student. I was probably not the best candidate for any type of graduate education unless it was happening somewhere outside of a classroom. And so I made it my mission in life that I was finding myself moving up the corporate ladder fairly quickly, to where I find myself oftentimes being the only one from an underrepresented ethnic group as part of these project teams. And then as I began to look around, not only was I underrepresented in that capacity, but I was also the youngest one with respect to my organization. And then when it came time to hand out the corner offices, I was the youngest one in my organization to have a corner office. And so you can imagine people walking by wondering, what did this guy do to get this corner office? And I'll tell you what I did. I made learning my passion. It was more than just a mission. It was something that was within me and something that I could not escape. And so when others would call it a day, I would go home and I would call it study time. And what I began to realize is if I leveraged that same passion that I had for my career and directed it towards my academics, I could possibly rebrand myself such that some university would be interested in taking a chance on me. And so I did that. I began to enroll in a full-time master's program while working full-time as an IT consultant. So you can imagine this. I go to the client site at 6 a.m. At 9 a.m. I leave. I drive an hour to campus. I take classes from 9 to 1. 1 o'clock I go back to the client site and I work from 1 to 6. I drive an hour again back to campus to work on group projects, and I did that for 2 years because for me it was an investment. But it required a sacrifice because I believe in the end it would make a greater impact on my family, on what was possible for us, and most importantly, I came from absolutely nothing. I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I know what I didn't want to be. And what I did not want to be was poor. I had lived that. I had experienced that. What I didn't want to be was on the streets. I had witnessed that. What I didn't want to be was in jail. What I did not want to be was buried at a young age. I had witnessed that by too many of my fellow peers. And so I made it my point. So you can see this was not just about getting an education. This was about creating a life. This was about creating opportunities. This was about trying to figure out what my kids could do, even though I had no kids at the time. And so when I look back on what I do at the University of Tennessee now, when I see my 5-year-old going with me to campus on a Saturday morning to speak to a group of students that have been labeled misfits, or to speak to a group of students who have been considered at risk, I agree. Yes, they are misfits because they are misunderstood. I agree that they are at risk because they're at risk of succeeding beyond what people have said about them. And I believe it's my investment in their future that makes me different than those who walk the same hallowed halls that I walk at the University of Tennessee. That's your destiny. That's your purpose. That's your future. That's your story. So I'm going to conclude my remarks this morning by saying this. If any seed that you sow is not precious, then it's not a sacrifice. If it is not a sacrifice, it is definitely not an investment that will yield a return. This seed that you're considering planting into this, what we call this program, this life cycle, it is a long seed. It will outlive you. It will outproduce you. It will outlast you. And when it's all said and done, it will be because of you. All right? Enjoy your time.